Bolo Vinaka, and happy Sabbath to us members here in Islands of the Sea Ministry, and a special and a warm welcome to Pedro. I'd like to welcome you, and we just want to thank you, Pedro, for availing yourself in sharing the knowledge that you have on the Sunday Law message and enlighten us more, your family members here in Fiji. I'd like to welcome you to our Zoom sessions here on the Sabbath. First session here on Sabbath for the Islands of the Sea Ministry in Fiji. Just on behalf of the board members and also the members of the Islands of the Sea Ministry, would like to just say Happy New Year to you, Pedro, and also we would like to welcome you. Warm, heartfelt welcome to you, and we just want to appreciate your time that you'll be able to come and share the knowledge that you have gained. And hopefully with our members that we will be able to learn a lot from your presentation today, and hopefully we will have questions at the end in order for you to enlighten us more on topics that we need to understand, especially for the Sunday Law message. Thank you so much, Pedro. I would like to welcome you to our Island of the Sea Ministry Zoom meeting this morning, and we really appreciate your time. And I'd like to welcome all members. May God continue to be with you, and may we be enlightened and be blessed. I know we will be blessed with the messages that Pedro has prepared for us this beautiful Sabbath. And hopefully we'll be fed with the heavenly manna. And we will be blessed with the messages that we're going to be shared with us today. So with those words, I would like to welcome each and every one of us to our Zoom session today. And I will give you now this time, Pedro, if you could just open with a word of prayer, and then we will continue with your session. Thank you so much. Over to you, Pedro.
Thank you so much, George. Just a couple of questions before we begin. How much time do we have? Is it 1 hour and then questions?
Yes, Pedro.
Perfect.
We've given you a spot from 10 to 12. 12. That's a 2 hour span, time span. So you can sort it out, 1 hour presentation, and then the other 1 hour 45 minutes for question and answers after that.
Okay, sounds good. So let's begin with a word of prayer. Dear God, we thank you so much for the blessing of starting a new year. Each and every one of us are thankful for the opportunity to live in this time of Earth history. And we recognize our need that the Holy Spirit may guide our thoughts, our hearts, but also our knowledge in prophecy and in history. We need your help so that we may understand our duty, what our purpose is in this world and in this time specifically. I ask you for a blessing for each people, each person here present, whether they are going through a time of difficulties or they are in good health and everything is good. In every context, I ask you for a special blessing so that we may realize how closely you've been guiding us and helping us to reach the light from heaven. Help us have humble hearts and open minds to be able to learn from you. In the name of Jesus, I pray all these things. Amen. Well, thank you again, everyone. Thank you for inviting me and for having the opportunity to talk to you all. Um, it is the morning for you here. We just begun our Sabbath. A little introduction about who I am. Well, I'm Pedro, as you already know. I live in Uruguay, small country in between Brazil and Argentina, but I was born in Venezuela. Probably you've heard news lately about Venezuela and Trump. So that's where I was born. And I'm right now located in Brazil with my in-laws. It is a blessing for me and a special opportunity to share a little bit of what my experience has been in the past 2 years regarding the Sunday Law message, regarding the process of arriving to correct conclusions, my own learning path into having thought one thing and then changing to another to better understand the rules of interpretation. So all I have to give is my perspective on things, how they developed for me, the way I see them now, and hopefully also establish us better into our current understanding of what the Sunday law is, uh, and how did we arrive to those conclusions at this moment. Uh, I understand the questions will be done at the end, but I don't mind having a little bit of interaction if you want. So feel free to ask questions or stop me. I sometimes prefer to, in small groups, I prefer to uh, have some feedback along the way, if you don't mind. I don't know if that's the kind of setting that you're used to, whether I can ask questions and receive answers from you. That would be a question for you, George. Is it something I can do? I can ask and receive some feedback, or
Yes,
we can?
yes,
Okay.
you can do that, Pedro.
Okay. Uh, I haven't done this much, so I will have one sharing screen, but this my camera will be on. Hopefully it will all work okay. Let me know if I need to adjust anything. I'm turning on my little whiteboard right now. Let me do it like this. Perfect. So if you don't mind, people, I would like to know from you uh, what what each and every one of you understand to be um, the Sunday law right now. In simple words, if any of you are willing to give us a very short answer of what the Sunday law is, according to your understanding at this moment, feel free. We'll give you all some time. Sunday law is inequality. Thank you. If I pronounce any name correctly, I deeply apologize. Thank you, Taylor. Sunday law is inequality.
It's, it's where
Yes.
the ceiling begins.
It's where the ceiling begins. I understood that correctly.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So you're telling us something that begins in the or at the waymark of the Sunday law. But what would it be? It's in itself, if you have any idea, the Sunday law.
It's where a test is given, which uh, um, which will determine one's destiny.
That's right. Thank you for that. We'll develop a little bit on that. If someone else have anything to say, a different opinion what the Sunday law is? State nationalism? Thank you as well.
It's no longer a Sunday Sabbath issue as we know of. It has the focus has gone into the series of elections, which is the marker of what the Sunday law, how we mark the beginning the Sunday law.
Thank you so much, George. So let's clarify, what do we mean when we ask, or when I ask, what's the Sunday law? First, we need to write down our most basic template for our dispensation, whether we want to see it as the dispensation of the 144,000 or another group, another institution. Particularly this one, I mean to write down the 144,000 reform line, which we all understand. It begins with a waymark that we call time of the end. And you all understand that time of the end, there's a whole lot of development about it, because we know it begins in 1798, specifically if we refer to the dispensation of the Millerites. But we are more specifically talking about 1989. And something interesting about the time of the end is that it is both a waymark, which means it is this point that I'm highlighting, but it is also what? The time of the end is a point, and it's a period. We are living in the time of the end, and this period called time of the end will last till the second coming, right? So something similar happens with the Sunday law. Before we go to the Sunday law, we know that after the time of the end, we have the 9/11 waymark. We call it 9/11. We're not gonna talk much about it. And we know we use the year 2001 to mark this waymark. But then we have the middle waymark. We could talk about the agriculture model or other ways to prove what this waymark is, but I'm going to just call it as we call it, the Sunday law, and understand this to be a point, but also a period. So the Sunday law has a point that I'm highlighting, but the Sunday law is also a period of time that goes from what I'm calling Sunday law till what we usually call COP, or close of probation. More recently, different names have been brought to our attention, not particularly new names, but it's good to have them. Anyone remembers what else can we call the Sunday law and the close of probation? More specifically, Elder Terry has brought us to attention a different name that we can give to these two waymarks. Yes?
Universal Sunday law.
Thank you. So we have, if I can try to write it down, just the acronyms: National Sunday Law, and we can say Worldwide or Universal Sunday Law. But it's the same, you want to call it like that, or simply Sunday law and close of probation. We understand to be referring in the particular topic that we're dealing right now is the period of the National Sunday Law, an event that we have very specifically tied to something happening where? Geographically.
United States of America.
Exactly. So we say that this is a national Sunday law, not because it is a law and not because it only will have an impact nationally, but it begins in a specific place. And we're going to talk about more how we change from law to whatever we believe that the Sunday law is right now. So this is the USA, and this is where the waymark that we want to talk about today, I'm going to highlight it with this square. The Sunday law or national Sunday law, that is why it's so tightly linked to the nation of the United States of America. So this is what we mean, or this is what I mean when I ask, what is the Sunday law? What I'm trying to say is, what is the event that marks that waymark within the square? So I will ask again, now that we have a context, when I say, what is the Sunday law? I'm talking about the waymark, not the period of this of the national Sunday law. RNC, that's a good one. So we have one answer given here, and we're going to add it. The RNC. I don't know if someone else.
Election cycle.
We have election cycle. This gives us a lot to talk about. I don't know if some people are writing in the chat. Let me just check. Oh, yes. So we have, yeah, RNC, election cycle. Let me just put election cycle first, and then RNC. So one issue that confronts us when we get to this point, what point? When we get to the point of trying to interpret and attach an event to the waymark that I'm talking about, the Sunday law, the waymark itself, because we always tied an external event to the waymarks that we can see in the board right now. 1989, 2001, we use different events, and that's how we are able to find historical proof to attach these waymarks some context in the real world, although we also understand that there's a spiritual things happening. So when we talk about the Sunday law, we have said that it is about something that happens in the nation of the United States. We could go different places and talk about how we know that. I'm sure most of you or all of you know that, well, as Adventists, we based our prophetic interpretations basically from Daniel and Revelation. Daniel and Revelation being God's given prophetic books for the church. And the topic that Daniel and Revelation seem to talk about the most, it's the sequence and the events and the changes that happen through the ages in Satan's kingdom. Of course, it talks about many other things, but it clearly gives us a lot of information about what is the first kingdom and who follows that one, and then the other one, and then we end up with the whole story of the Satan kingdoms or the satanic kingdoms, which are basically worldly kingdoms. And that's how at some point we arrive to the period of the United States. So one thing that I want us to understand is there's something that happens in the United States that this is not even us. This is an Seventh-day Adventist solid doctrine. Maybe we have refined it more, and clearly we have a lot of more of greater understanding about the current interpretation of it. But this is something that comes from our Seventh-day Adventist background, which is that the United States, it's part of the Bible prophecy. That's one thing. But also that something very interesting will take place in that nation, right? And that's something that will take place in that nation. It's portrayed in the Bible in different places through different symbols. But regardless of the symbols, Adventists understand that this thing that will happen to the United States or in the United States marks a turning point in Bible prophecy, and a turning point in the church history. And we have actually given it the middle way mark of our line. This event that happens in the United States, we have given the middle way mark before the close of probation. So let's talk a little bit about where in the Bible we have understood that an event happening in the United States, it's such a turning point that it becomes the middle way mark. It's a point of transition for different things. Someone talked about the ceiling, but I'm sure there's different other symbols and stories that we can tie to the Sunday law, things that start happening at the Sunday law. Revelation, let me see. Revelation 13. I want to start by Revelation 13, though we want to talk about more Revelation 17. But let's use 13 just as a quick template to this event that happens in the United States. First of all, what is being represented in Revelation 13 to be the nation of United States, if we want to go by simple terms? Revelation 13. We know that there's two beasts in Revelation 13. We know that one of those beasts, it's what we've called the papacy. But then in chapter 13, verse 11, we know that a different beast comes to the scene. John the Revelator said, "And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon." Right there in verse 11, it's where we find what I'm trying to call the transition. This is the beast with two horns like a lamb, but then we're given a very striking contrast. It is a lamb, but it speaks as a dragon. Maybe some people could interpret it differently and say, well, the United States all along, since its inception, has been both a lamb and both a dragon, and sometimes the United States have been bad and sometimes the United States have been good. But the way I would like us to think of this apparent contradiction in the character of this beast, being a lamb, but also a dragon, or rather speaking as a dragon, I want us to understand that this is actually a period. And I believe recently Elder Parminder have talked about this. Basically, what we want to take from Revelation 13 is that there's something happening, there's a transition going on between two United States. Is this still the same nation? But we can say this is United States as a lamb, and this is United States as a dragon. Meaning the United States has been behaving, we could say good, but something will happen that then it will start behaving badly. We're using just good and bad, but it's the same as saying lamb and dragon. So it becomes very, very important for us as students of prophecy to understand this point. When will this happen? When will the United States transition from a lamb to a dragon? And how can we call this point? Can anybody help me with that? The point when the United States cease from being a lamb and starts speaking like a dragon. There has to be a point, right? At some point, it stops being a lamb and now it speaks like a dragon. There's a transition, there's a turning point. What do we call that transition point? It's a question for you.
Time of the end.
Let me just open the rest of the line. When you say time of the end, do you mean 1989?
Yes.
Okay, so we have one option. The United States stops being a lamb and became a dragon at the time of the end. That's a question. Thank you for that. Someone else have a different opinion or agree?
Is it at Sandelo? Waymark.
Okay, we have another option. Is it the Sunday law itself? Thank you for that. One more person would like to speak? When did the United States stop being a lamb and becomes a dragon?
At shipwreck.
And the voices
Sunday law.
change.
Oh, I got mixed voices. Can someone help me see what were the two waymarks given?
One said that during shipwreck,
At shipwreck?
and
Okay.
yeah, at shipwreck. And Waisiki, if you can just repeat yours.
When the voices changes.
The
I mean,
voices?
cohesive power when it's been used, when from llama to a dragon.
RNC.
RNC, we have RNC. Also in the chat, we have RNC. So we have different answers, but most people seem to see that something happens in the United States and it changes. Someone said shipwreck, which we know is a symbol for Sunday law. Someone said RNC, which is specifically talking about an event in our time. And some people have said the Sunday law. I understand they're basically saying the Weimar that we're talking about. So that's exactly the point. We call this point of transition that we can see in Revelation 13 as the Sunday law. This helps us understand that the Sunday law is something, the Sunday law as a waymark, the one that we can call the national Sunday law, to be more specific, is actually an event happening in the United States. And we can get a little bit of the nature of this change or this event, meaning that the United States have been so long something, in this case a lamp, but now it will start transitioning to something else. This is a very simple story. This story is not telling us if there's probably also a period of time between lamb and dragon. It seems to be saying that it happens in one moment. There's definitely more stories, more parables in the Bible, in Daniel and Revelation, that gives or could give more detail into how this transition happens. But God and the Bible, we have seen, try to help us by giving us simple stories. Lamb, but then dragon. Therefore, transition point, you can call Sunday law. The moment when the United States changes. So I want you to see how different I'm speaking about the Sunday law as, for example, we would speak about it 5-6 years ago. We're not talking about the Sunday law as being neither a law. We basically just said it's a point or a change that happens in the United States. We are changing the terminology that we use formerly. I'm not talking about a law. I'm not even saying it has to do with Sunday, but rather something that happens to the very nation represented by the Lamb that speaks as a dragon. So we're not trying to give interpretations. We're just trying to state the facts. Something happens within the period of this kingdom, this beast, if I can call it beast. But now let's go to where we have spent most of our time during the last year, 2025. Elder Perminder has, I think, since the beginning, probably long before, but I can clearly remember at the end of 2024 and the beginning of 2025, Elder Parminder speaking as if the whatever Revelation 17 is, the woman and the beast, whenever we get to the point where we understand who those symbols represent or what they are, we would get a greater understanding of the Sunday law. I see a lot of wisdom in that. Meaning, we didn't know exactly what the woman was, what the beast was, talking about Revelation 17. But Elder Parmendo was already alluding to us, kind of giving us a clue that whatever we find in Revelation 17, whenever we finally be able to separate, isolate the symbols and understand what they are, we would probably understand what the Sunday law is. I see a lot of wisdom in that, because that's part of what happened. It's not that we can only understand the Sunday law through Revelation 17, clearly not. Elder Terry wasn't using Revelation 17, and she was able to pinpoint what was the specific event. But clearly, Revelation 17 gives us a lot more, let's say, context and symbols to more fully be able to see what the Sunday law was. So let's talk a little bit about Revelation 17 in the same dynamic or in the same fashion that we have talked about Revelation 13. Reviewing, I said 13, it's the beast that is like a lamb, but speaks as a dragon. And the point when it stops being the lamb and becomes a dragon, that transition is the one that we are going to call the Sunday law. So the Sunday law is when it stops being a lamb and becomes a dragon. How can we do that then with Revelation 17? So we do Revelation 17. I'm going to jump forward a lot of the details of Revelation 17. We have been talking about those and studying for quite some time now. But we do remember, I hope, that there's a specific, how can I say, there's a very specific progression going on in Revelation 17, which is, let me see if I can draw a little structure and give some numbers. This will be 6. Sorry, this will be 5. This will be 6. And this will be 7. This will be was, if I actually can pull out the specific words, someone can remind me. When it speaks about the beast, it says that the beast was and
Is not.
Is
not and
Yet is.
yet is. Let me pull out this specific phrase that says in Revelation 17:8, it says the beast that thou sawest was and is not and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit. And the phrase that you have highlighted, it's found here when it says was, is not, yet is. The yet is what at the beginning of the verse is called was, is not, shall ascend. Everybody sees this?
Yes.
When it says yet is, it's talking about the future or the present?
future.
Future. We know that because it says shall ascend. And also because the structure is quite straightforward. There's something that was, there's something that is, there's something that will be. So if I can just very simply say shall be, to make it simple. We then have a very interesting structure here. We have something that was, something that at some point is not, but will be again, shall ascend, future. So we have this structure. Now let's talk about symbols. I am a terrible drawer, or I don't know how to draw anything actually, but I'm gonna try do a beast. If we have this beast that we know has many heads, how many?
7.
Has 7. Will be this with 7 heads. What else am I missing from this symbol?
10 horns.
The woman.
Someone talked about the horns. Thank you for the horns. And I specifically wanted to talk about the woman. So we have a person. There's a person on top of the beast. See, I'm still audible, right? Can everybody hear me?
Yes, yes, Pedro.
Sorry, I think I lost a little bit of connection for 1 second. What about now? Is everyone able to hear me?
We can hear
Yes,
you.
Pedro.
Okay, I think my whiteboard is a little slow for some reason. Okay, so the two symbols that I want to talk about specifically are the woman and the beast. So we can say woman and we can say beast. Now, we can see that the woman is on top of the beast and the beast has 7 heads. So we also have a symbol of heads. And this is the moment when we need to stop and we need to try to see or understand what's being given to us. So if I can do with a different color the rest of this line, 4, 3, 2, 1, we know that it's actually saying that there's a kingdom that is first, the second, the third, and the fourth. And we know that this is basically talking about the kingdoms of Satan. But more specifically about the latest 3 kingdoms. And we need to try to understand the most important thing that is being given to us, which is what does it mean when it says is not? It's in the present. I'm going to jump forward some other details that we have talked about. The transition point between the 5th and the 6th, we have called time of the end. 1798 or 1989. Therefore, we know that when it says was, it's talking about before 1798. When it says is not, it's the present, it's talking about after 1798. And then we have another transition point, which is from the 6 to the 7. And we need to understand when is this transition point. So let's go back. I want to say that, before I say that, let me ask to you, what do you think, people, the Bible is trying to tell us when it says the beast was? What does it mean it was? It was what?
Was alive.
What was that? What is it like?
Existed.
I missed that too.
They said alive, Pedro.
Alive. Great. So it was alive and then it died. So let me put that down, and I would say during number 5, the beast was alive. Great. What about number 4? Was it alive or dead?
Yes, it was alive.
So it
Alive.
was alive. And I guess we can do the same with the rest. It was alive. It was alive. It was alive. Although this is not the emphasis of Revelation 17. Revelation 17 wants to talk about only 5, 6, and 7. We're going to assume that it was alive. But then during the 6, it was not. So can I say that it was dead?
Yes.
And when it says it shall be, can I say that it will be alive again? Cool. Now, in this terminology of alive and dead, what is this point? The transition. How would you call it? How would you call the point when something that was dead became to be alive again?
Resurrected.
Resurrection.
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 So we have a word that we can attach to it, which is resurrection. That's all nice, but we still need to, how can I say, we still need to find something that can help us determine when it is dead and when it is not. How can we determine what makes this beast to be alive? Probably if we do so, we will know how it resurrects. Because otherwise we end up thinking, well, maybe, something will happen and it will receive some help, or someone would do some satanic miracle and will cast out spells and resurrect. I don't know. We could make up any story about the resurrection. In fact, we know as movement people that there's a lot of stories out there about this resurrection. We know, for example, Seventh-day Adventists, they still expect who they expect to perform the resurrection of the beast.
Rome.
Papacy.
They still expect the papacy, but then they see the papacy, and the papacy doesn't really look like it's wanting to do much gathering of political power. Then they go and try to find, well, probably it's because of the climate change. And you can easily see how we just go from prophecy to very funny stories when we don't know what is it that makes the beast to be alive. And this is what I want to talk about. What is it that makes the beast to be alive? And for that, we need to go back to the ICM. I'm hoping all of you were able to follow or watched the ICM presentations by Arjen, sorry, and Curtis, and Elder Terry, and also the Parminder, and Elena, where what was most of the time the topic. They were working with definitions. Does any one of you remember the definitions of what they were talking about? And I don't want to lose you all. I'm trying to say that we need to know what is it that makes the beast alive. Now I'm jumping to some definitions from ICM, but we're going to the same point. I want to find out what is it that makes the beast alive. I cannot make the beast alive if I'm not yet defined what the beast is. So I need to say, I need to know what a beast is. I need to know what a head is. And I need to know what the woman is. Does any one of you remember some of the definitions that were given?
A woman is an entity with an ideology power.
It's an entity that what, sorry?
An entity with an ideology power.
Great.
Control.
If you want to continue, yes, you can go ahead.
Thank you, Pedro.
Okay, so we have been said that the woman is an entity with an ideology. How do we know that? How do we know the woman is an entity with an ideology?
Every entity has is founded on principle or on ideology. It has a purpose of its existence.
So an entity has a purpose. And how do you know in the first place that the woman is an entity?
When we go back to the 1,260 years, the was number 5,
Uh-huh.
and we've realized that as what we've known in the past, that that the woman is equals to a church, which is an entity. Is that right?
I get your point. So basically, you're using a technique, which is, well, let me go to a period of time in the past where I already know what the woman was in order to tell what the woman is today. I think is a very useful way of finding out. And totally, I think it's part of what the intention of prophecies, so that we can have patterns and similarities from the past and take those templates and interpret today, which is very helpful. But I would like to go to the root of the very symbol. It is called woman. In the most simple terms possible, a woman is, forget about prophecy. What
Church.
is a woman?
Church.
Church.
Not prophecy, not tricky definitions. Like in real life, what is a woman?
A wife.
Someone
Life.
said a wife. What was that, Taylor?
Life.
I sorry, I didn't catch you.
Sorry, life.
Life like this?
Yes.
Okay.
Help
So
me.
sorry, Saini, there's a little bit of an echo there. What did you say? Gives life.
Help me.
If someone understands, can someone help me?
She said help meet.
Help meet.
How can I spell it?
HELP MEET MEET.
Helpmeet. So people have said
Okay.
wife, helpmeet, and life as giving life. Okay. Well, all of these definitions, well, this one, I guess it's patriarchally being taken from Genesis, I guess. Wife, probably as well. Life-giving, well, it's a fact of biology. I would, but I don't want to go there to any of these definitions. What I actually wanted to go is to the most. Someone said women,
Companionship.
female.
Well,
Well, I'm just gonna give the answer that I wanted to go for. A woman is a human. Oh, I see someone at the end gave it. A woman is a human. A human being. Those are the most simple terms possible. So forget about woman. This is about a human being. The other symbol is beast. Let's go for beast. What is beast in the most simple terms?
people.
Animal.
Animal.
Thank you. Animal. Perfect. Now let's continue with the definitions. We have human and animal. Now let's talk about animal and try to understand what kind of animals carry people on top of them. I guess many type
Camel.
of animals can do that, but what is a most common one?
Horse.
A
Horse.
horse. And what do we call the person, the human that goes on top of a horse?
Horse rider.
Juke. Juke.
I guess English is not my language, but I will go with what's the best word I can use?
Juke. Jokey.
Joke. Okay. I will do jokey. We know this is the driver or the rider. Let's put here driver as well. We understand the point. Horse and a rider. A joke or driver. This is the symbol that we are given. Definitely. Because it says riding the beast. Let's see if we can find where it says that. Where does it say that? In what verse? Let me see if I find it.
3.
It says sit upon, right? Perfect. So we have sit upon. That means if you're sit upon a beast, it's because you're doing something with that beast, isn't it?
Yes.
If
Verse
we
7.
take these two symbols together, I want to suggest to you that when the Bible it's in verse 8, the beast that thou sawest was and is not and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit, it's talking about a specific kind of beast. For example, if I take the horse alone, can the horse accomplish things?
No.
No.
No, right? But what if you give a horse something on top, like a mind of a human being,
It will
and you put
accomplish.
a human on top? Now that horse can do a lot of things, because the horse alone, I mean, it does things, but not the one that we know. It's the context of our story. We're talking about kingdoms here. We're talking about purposes. So a horse needs to have a human on top. So this beast has to have a human on top. And as someone said, a human has many things. One of those that is very important, it's agency. A human can decide what they want to do. They can have purposes and try to accomplish things. Now, what is more powerful? A human walking or a human on top of a horse? You could, we
Woman on
know,
horse.
we know a human can go across different countries with a horse way more rapidly than he could go on foot. So this is, we're talking about the Bible, 2000 years ago, this was a living reality. You could conquer nations with humans on top of horses. So I guess we get the point. This person with agency that have specific purposes and ideas, if he has a horse, then it becomes something that could really accomplish greater things. So this is the symbol that we're given. We're being said that there's a woman and she's on top of a beast. And because of Daniel and Revelation, we know the beasts are in its most basic terms, some sort of government or kingdom. So that's why when we have been given the definition of woman as being, and I will write it down now, entity with an ideology, by entity, we are just trying to keep it vague enough to, let's say, fit all of the different dispensations from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Sometimes that entity can be a whole institution, like the papacy that was controlling the kings of Europe. Therefore, your woman and your beast, this entity, which was an institution called the papacy, controlling other kingdoms or kings. When we go to beast, what were we told about the definition of the beast?
Political institution with power.
Political. Let's talk about, thank you. I will continue with that, saying thank you for that. If we stop on political, what we're trying to say with this is that based on this study and the history of the other 4 kingdoms in the past, in all instances, this entity that had an ideology didn't want any type of power. Like we said, the horse is an animal with a lot of power. That is in literal terms. Spiritually, we want to understand, well, what kind of power is this entity wanting to get? And we can easily go to the conclusion it has to be political power, the power that shapes nations and wages wars and changes, laws, etc. political power. So, sorry, I should have said institution first. So you were saying institution. Oh, I did it wrong again. I'm getting mixed up between Spanish and English. So it is a political, it's an institution. And we could talk about what is an institution, but in all the examples of these 7 kingdoms, at least the first 5, it is always an institution that holds political power. So political institution with power. The word power is being added to be very specific. There can be many types of institutions, like a university, or I don't know, even a church institution. We're talking about political. Well, political parties. I don't know, for example, the Green Party of Australia. How much power does the Green Party has in Australia? Or how much the Libertarian Party has in the United States? Or how much, I could go on and find different parties from different countries, and we can easily get to the conclusion that not all political institutions, like for example, some political parties, not all of them have the power that we're trying to talk about here. Someone could say, well, this is the Democratic Party or the Republican Party. They're certainly powerful institutions. Are they powerful enough to control a whole nation? Probably not. So this is why I'm trying to give a little bit of context of why each word is very important. It's political, it has to be an institution, and it has to have power. What's the last part of the definition of beast that I'm missing?
With power, then has adopted
That
the
has
ideology of the woman.
adopted the ideology of the woman.